All right, guys, what's going on? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And this one is going to cover the specifics that was talked about in the latest XDefiant debrief. So without further ado, we're going to get right into it. And the majority of this is related to ranked. However, there are some kind of juicy stuff towards the end as far as the community questions and stuff like that are concerned. So all right, let's trim the fat off this baby and just talk about the important stuff that we needed to know in the next debrief. Okay, so first, obviously, this is all about ranked, and it says the first thing is that 0 RP bug has been fixed. Next up, the Charlie 1 error has been fixed, but will continue to get monitored. Next up, matches will start with no less than 8 total players, and players leaving during matchmaking will still receive a penalty for quitting, but will not impact players quitting in the middle of a match. However, if a team loses a player, you will lose a discounted amount of RP, but if the difference is great enough, imbalance forgiveness will trigger and no RP will be lost. Next up, they talk about ranked CTF being added, and of course at halftime you will change sides. Ranked server changes coming shortly after the update as well. There is a limiting max ping from 125, so they're going to be lowering that. Next up, input priority. Game will attempt to match players with the same input during the first wave search. Then after that time expires, the expanded search allows for all inputs. Next up, updating rank point change ranges for matchmaking. So they're expanding it from 15 to 30. During low population times, players can still find matches as well. Low ranks will not be impacted. Okay, so now they're going to be talking about stuff that's coming later in Season 1. So the stuff that was already discussed just now is stuff that has been implemented now, but this is coming shortly after. So next up, we have we will have coming later in Season 1 will be faction skill restriction. And next after that, it's going to be additional penalties for quitters, which includes progressive matchmaking bans, RP penalty increases, and in the meantime, though, the RP penalty has increased from 40 to 50. They're also going to be doing RP calculation updates and party average RP for matchmaking. Now, they actually went ahead and started discussing details in terms of what's coming in Season 2 for ranked. So the first thing is they're going to have a top 500 in-game leaderboards with placement and stats, which sounds pretty cool. Hopefully they'll have something like that similar for pubs. I would absolutely love if they did that. All right, next up, we have ranked loadout restrictions. I think everybody under the sun that even doesn't play ranked could have seen this coming. So that is coming. They're also going to have a rejoin feature, so that way in case you ever lose connection for a short period of time due to your dog taking, unplugging your Ethernet cable, as was mentioned in this update or whatnot, you'll be able to rejoin. Next up, they will also be doing progressive RP penalty for quitters. So that is pretty much everything in ranked. Now, immediately after that, they got into the new map, which is Daytona, which absolutely looks sweet. And I'm from Florida, for those of you guys that don't know. So the fact that they're having a kind of a map that's related to my home state is kind of cool. However, I don't see that many players playing it because it's not for the game modes that most players play, which is arena. This is a progression or whatnot type of map. It's not a it's a linear map. It's not like an arena map. So I don't know, but if you enjoy the game modes that they have for that, then that's fine. Then obviously you're going to love Daytona. So the other one that we're going to get is going to be, I believe, next month in September. So all right, next up, they go to community questions. Now this is where things kind of get interesting, and I kind of wanted to get my input on that. And of course, the majority of players play pubs. So let's go on to community questions. So now this is actually going to be a question to the answer that's. These are pretty much going to be the answers to the questions that have been asked, so it just kind of trims the fat off of this a little bit. So, all right, first up, more weapon attachments are coming along. They're going to add like one more attachment per season or whatnot, especially when there's a new weapon that's coming out or something like that. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see how that works. So we will see. Next up, there will be they are looking into implementing a customizable HUD. Next up, weapon nerfs and buffs are decided by combining community feedback and data. This is actually really good because a lot of other game developers out there, if not every single game developer, doesn't necessarily take community feedback into effect. They will take the data they'll just take the data into effect. So the fact that they're combining community feedback and data is really great. I think this will be really good when it comes to weapons in terms of nerfing or buffing. Next up, they talk about anti-cheat updates coming, including making changes to the game that make it harder for cheats. Now, obviously, they didn't make it harder for cheats to work. Now, obviously, they didn't give too many details, if not any details after that, obviously, because they don't want to help the cheat providers or whatnot. So it is what it is. It is an ongoing battle, unfortunately. Hopefully, something gets done about that in the future to where cheats will actually no longer exist. But that's, as of right now, that's kind of a dream. But anyway, let's move on. 24/7 playlists will be a thing from now on when new maps launch, which is great. So that way players will get a chance to play those new maps in a 24/7 playlist nonstop, so that's great. And now, of course, here's the last thing that I wanted to mention. Now, this is not anything new. However, there is something that I kind of got a hint of. So anyway, so they obviously talk about some of the things that were discussed that are still being asked as of today in terms of the previous XDefiant debrief, and that is things that are coming that are in development. And those things are in order of list. Prestige, weapon mastery, system updates, keyboard and mouse on console, private matches, and kill cams. Now that was how it was listed, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to come in that order. However, I do believe they are. I do believe that they are going to be released in that order, simply because of the fact that when you look at it, the first thing is prestige, right? So prestige is something that's fairly simple. All they have to do as far as creativity goes is develop the prestige emblems and stuff like that, and maybe implement the slight different changes in terms of how they're going to have their prestige system. But for the most part, it is something that is fairly simple. And then mastery system updates for weapon mastery, again, fairly simple. Keyboard and mouse on console, a little bit more complicated, especially if you want the keyboard and mouse to operate as efficiently as you possibly can on console, even though to my knowledge it's not going to be nearly as good as it is on PC. But the fact that they're adding it in for people that want it is obviously a good thing. And then private matches obviously has been something of a request for a long time. I think that it is fairly simple, but again, a little bit more complicated because it's just a development thing. And of course, by far the most complicated thing that just so happens to be the last thing on this list are kill cams, right? Like I've heard at this point so much of just how complicated kill cams are, which is another reason why a lot of games don't have them. But obviously Call of Duty's had them for a long time, and we owe a lot of credit to COD 4 for having the kind of kill cams that they've been having, because ever since then it's been something that's been coming back, and obviously it's been tweaked or whatnot. But for the most part, you know, again, we owe all of that to COD 4. So anyway, with that being said, the next thing that they go over is that their next debrief is going to be in September. As I mentioned in the previous in my previous patch notes video, that I'm glad that they're having a new XDefiant debrief every single month, because my assumption was that they were going to have one for every season, which would be 4 per year. But it's a bigger difference when you have one every month, which just pretty much proves my prediction or assumption that there was going to be a major update every single month, because there was a new map released every single month. So basically, for the fact that we're going to have a new XDebrief in September, and that we had one just now, and that we had one the month previously, just pretty much is all the proof in the pudding you need to basically confirm that. So that's good. So now, one thing I do want to mention before ending this video is that a lot of players, and rightfully so, have mentioned that there have been no mentions in this debrief of netcode changes and stuff like that, and hit registration changes. And I'm not necessarily trying to cover the developers' asses or anything like that, but to me, it's just something that, number one, they've mentioned it previously that they're going to be making constant changes from update to update. But also, it's probably the number one on their to-do list. I think we can all agree that connection is by far the number one thing when it comes to priority in a multiplayer shooter of any kind whatsoever. So basically, it's something that they're continuously updating on. So basically, for them just to say we're still continuing to work on it will be like nothing. It's like little to nothing at all. That you know, it won't have like any impact whatsoever. You know, people are already pretty much talking about that pretty much every single day. So many content creators out there are talking about it nearly in every single one of their video, because it is that important and it is that much of a big of a deal, as well as the fact that everybody's experience has been completely different, even on this matter. When it comes to the netcode, hit registration and stuff like that, some players have been experiencing improvements, some players have been experiencing the exact opposite, and other players haven't been experiencing much of a difference that's hardly noticeable at all. So the big thing was that ever since Season 1 launched, a lot of players have reported that they've been experiencing a lot more inconsistencies and therefore have stopped playing the game. So, but like I said, like with every single update that they do, the game has been kind of infamous for kind of having additional bugs or whatnot. So I don't know, let's just hope that with every single update that there are fixes to the netcode /hit registration that pretty much are noticeable by the community. And a lot of community members play this game a lot, so they will notice those differences and things such of that nature. But anyway, guys, with that being said, that pretty much concludes the outline of the important things that were discussed in the XDefiant debrief in terms of this one. So with that being said, was this a big deal for you guys, especially for those of you guys that play ranked? Are you excited for all the implementations that are going to be put into season 2 ranked in terms of what's coming? And of course, as far as the pub side of things, which are probably the majority of us, if not all of us, because even players that play ranked also like to play pubs, you know, in terms of the things that are coming, what do you guys think? What do you guys think is going to be coming first? And let's just hope that that this doesn't you know, release additional bugs, and let's hope the hit registration and desync issues and stuff like that continue to get adjusted. But as of right now, there hasn't been any mention of that, obviously, as we just discussed. But if you're feeling any sort of difference, whether it's positive or negative, ever since this patch update, let me know down in the comment section below, as well as any other thoughts. And with that being said, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.